Garage walls. What should you put on the inside of your garage walls? We want something that's affordable, but we also want something that's durable. A lot of times, if you're a guy like me, we like to hang things on the wall. Drywall might not be the best option. So what other options do you have? This is what we prefer. This is what we have found to be the most affordable and the most durable option for garage walls. And it looks pretty good. This is LP SmartSide. It comes in a panel form. This is just a small piece of it. It is a shiplap style panel. So they make a couple different series. They make some different thicknesses. 38 series, which is 3/8 thick, and I believe they make the 76 series, which is 7/16 thick. So a little bit thicker, supposed to be good for 2 foot on center studs. But we're using the 38 series because we've got 16-inch on center studs, so no problem there. But what we really like about this stuff is it holds paint really well. Fairly straightforward to install, although we do have some tips and tricks we're going to show you on this particular video on how we're doing this particular garage. But it's also readily available at a lot of the home centers, a lot of the lumber yards. We can source this stuff. It comes in a couple of different styles. This one is just a cedar texture style, and they also make a panel that has grooves in it. That kind of simulates a different style siding, but this is the style that we have selected. We're going to take you through it step by step, how we install it, why we think it's the most durable on the market, why we think that this is the best option for you in your garage. Let's get going. So this is one of our current projects. This is a 30 by 30 garage. If you're curious, that is damp sprayed cellulose, and it has had plenty of time to dry out, so no worries there. If you follow LP SmartSide's manufacturer's instructions, they tell you there are some limitations for installing this stuff over damp sprayed cellulose. You need to make sure it's good and dry. It is dry. We're good to go there. How are we installing this stuff? What fasteners are we using? Is there any sealant needed? What about the trim at the top and the bottom? We're going to take you through every bit of that every step of the way. This is a 30 by 30 garage. It's a nice blank canvas for us to work on. You can see that we've already got drywall on the ceiling. That's key for this particular installation. But LP SmartSide is a really wonderful product. We're going to talk about why we feel like it's the best product to use inside a garage for the walls, and why we feel like it's also the most durable. It's ready to accept paint. That's huge. It's exterior rated, so if you leave your garage doors open once in a while and you get some wind-driven rain, that's not going to be an issue as long as you install it properly. There's a lot of advantages to this system. All right, so here's the strategy that we're going with on this particular walls. This is a little bit unique to this situation. Maybe it'll work for you. You might have to adapt a little bit to what you have available in your area. This particular garage, the height of it is 9.5 feet, so 108.5, okay? Here's the strategy that we're using for this. We can't source 9-foot long panels. We can't source 10-foot long panels. We would have took either one we would have taken. All we can get is the 4x8 sheets, so that's what we're going to run with. To make up for that lost space and height, we're going to start with a 5/4 trim board. So this is 5/4. It's around 7/8 thick is what it really truly is. Yeah, about an inch, 7/8. It varies a little bit, but it's 5.5 inches. No, we went with a 1x8 or 5/4 by 8. So it's about 7.5 inches tall, okay? So if we start out at 7.5 inches tall, then we stick a 4x8 sheet on the top, we're going to have to still make up a little bit of space up top. To make it look symmetrical, we're going to put a piece of like 4/4 or 5/4 1x6 up top. So it'll be 5.5 inches. That's going to cover our seams. I've seen other guys do this before where they put a panel on, they don't make it to the top, they just start ripping 1-foot or 2-foot strips, and then they cover that splice. It looks terrible. I've never been a fan of it. We don't want any horizontal seams in this. It looks awful. So that's the strategy that we're going with. So the first thing that we need to start with is this 5/4 1x8. We do not want to slam this directly down on the concrete. what we're doing is we're shimming this a little bit. We're taking a little piece of cardboard on each end. The concrete's got a little bit of variance in it, so that helps a little bit too to get it up off the ground. Just the thickness of cardboard, if you've got a shim, you know, maybe 3/16 thick, something like that, that works as well. So we'll shim that all the way down through there, and then we're going to fasten this to the studs. Once that's done, we'll start with our panels and we'll run you through that. So let's get this installed first. All right, so to fasten all of this SmartSide in the entire garage, I'm using this new paslode cordless siding nailer. This thing is really nice. Paslode sent this out to me to just test out and to review. The one thing that I don't like about it is the longest length nail that it will shoot is a 2-inch nail. Not a big deal. It's fine in here. If I was outside with it, I think LP wants like a 2 3/8 long nail for their trim, for the 5/4 trim. So it might not work for that specific application. But other than that, so far, we're really liking this thing. Just the fact that it's cordless is awesome. And the consistency, setting the depth of the nails is fantastic. So what we're using here is we're using 2-inch ring shanked hot dip galvanized nails. Even though it's inside the garage, we're still using the hot dip galvanized nails, not a big deal. So we're gonna go ahead and nail this off. You can see I've got my cardboard shim under here. First place I'm gonna nail is this bottom plate. Then I'm gonna go ahead and skip over to this stud. Now, I'm not gonna be able to hit this stud. This is just kind of floating out here. It's not a big deal. All this is here for is aesthetics, right? We're setting our panels on top of that trim. I'm just putting 2 nails in each stud. That's more than sufficient for what we're using it for. We've left a gap right here for one main reason. Our casing on the doors is also going to be LP SmartSide. I think we're going to use, once again, either 4/4 or 5/4, but we want to run it all the way to the floor. We can't put that on yet. It's casing just like we would case, you know, if this were drywall. You're not going to put your casing on before your drywall, right? The same is true for these SmartSide panels. What we've done is we have gapped this. We're going to have a 3/16 reveal, and then we know that our SmartSide trim is 3.5 inches. So these are the panels that we're using. If I hook my tape and run across, look at this, 48 3/4. Why is that? It's because this essentially has like a horizontal shiplap in it, or a vertical shiplap, excuse me, in it. You see it's got a male side basically and a female side. This side is going to lap over the next sheet. You've got to keep that in mind when you're using this stuff. It's really nice to get it good and plumb to start with. That way you don't have typically any problems unless your framer didn't get his 16-inch on center layout correct, or 24-inch on center if you're using the 76 series. As far as cutting this stuff, we'll just cut it with a standard circular saw. We do have a 24-tooth blade on there. A 40-tooth would be a lot better. 24-tooth seems to, or it has a tendency to chip this little primer off of it, but a lot of this is hiding because we've got trim covering our edges, so it doesn't really matter for us. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to set our sheet up here on our baseboard or our ledge. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to space this. This is very important. Go ahead and pull that back, Matt, some. This is really important to maintain this space. I believe LP wants an 1/8 gap. Go back at the, oh, right there, right there, right there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and tack this. LP wants this gap maintained. If you do not maintain that gap, you're going to come out offset on your panels as you progress across the wall. That's pretty good. You see how easy it is to install these panels, and we're really nice on our next stud. So come around here and show this. This is our next piece where it's going to overlap. We're right on this, the edge of this stud. That's right where you want to be. We're on the money. Now I can go ahead and throw a nail in that if I want, but the next sheet is going to lap right on top of that. We're going to be fastening it. So a lot of times I will actually skip that particular groove just because I don't need double nails in it. All right, so we've got an overdriven fastener here. We might go a half click or so back on our nail fastening on our nailer. The rest are fine, just this one. I guess maybe we hit a soft spot in the 2x, but we're using just some spackling here. Once again, this is an interior application. We're in a garage here, but you want to wipe that spackling into that hole and you want to get every bit of it around it off. If you leave spackling over here in the grain around it, that will show up smooth. It will show up like a sore thumb when it comes paint day, okay? So all you want to do is spackle just that recess, that overdriven nail, just like that. That's a perfect example right there. Zoom in real close on that. You're going to have some overdriven fasteners. Now this is kind of unique what we're doing here. We wired this job as well, and it's just a little bit easier when you can install the electrical boxes after the fact. You see right here we've got a switch box, or we've got switch wires, but we have no box, right? So we're going to use these remodel boxes. We've done this plenty of times, never once had an issue. So basically what we can do is we can fudge this wire just a little bit left or right, put in our remodel or old work box. That's what I'm doing right here with this panel. We've got a receptacle. I've already measured it out. Now I've got to cut it out, and then we can put in one of these nice old work boxes, and they work just fine. Then you don't have to get so precise with your measurements. You don't have to take so much time trying to cut around a box that's already in place. Hopefully that makes sense. So because we wired it ourselves, we're able to do it this way. So we'll go ahead and make some cuts here. Looky there, we're good to go. No problem. Now we don't have to line up with a receptacle box. We just run the wires through. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We can focus on our 1/8" expansion joint. That's another good point that comes to mind. Why do we need that 1/8" joint? I'm golden right there, so I'm going to go ahead and fasten this. Why do we need this joint? It's really an expansion joint is what it is. Are you down on that side? I am. Okay, great. Yep, we're good. This stuff comes out of the factory at like 0.9% moisture content. So when it collects moisture, it grows, it expands. Now, they do tell us that it expands and contracts. I've never seen that happen. Typically, once it's reached its stable moisture content on the job site, after it's been here for a month or two, it expands a little bit. That's it. It doesn't move again. All right, so we're chalking our lines here. You good? It just takes a second to do this. We just need a quick reference line to make absolute sure that our nails are hitting studs. So these outside corners, I always do these the same way. Don't try to miter them. Don't try to make them just perfect. What I like to do is I like to overhang them about 1/4 inch, and then I come back with one of these white side spiral bits and the flex cordless router, and I just route it flush with the other panel. That always looks the best in my opinion. So that's the way I do it. I won't be able to get the very, very bottom with this. I can just take a little OMT or something and cut this bottom off, but you get the point. It'll be nice and smooth. Now this tape, the only reason that I have this tape on here is to keep my bearing out of those nails. I've got a few siding nails on here, so I'm just trying to kind of protect the bit a little bit. Nice and flush. We'll go ahead and pull our tape off. Now we have a perfectly flush outside corner. A little bit of caulk in that gap. This will paint up and it'll just look perfect. Nice outside corner. That's the way I always do it. It's the easiest in my opinion. I just got to trim this little bit off with an OMT. Okay, you about splitting right there? Yep. Feel good about it? Oh, yeah. All right, I'm gonna push my end up and I'm gonna smack it. Very good. Notice this piece above the LP panels. That's just a filler piece is all it is. We had some extra scraps of LP, some cutoffs, so we ripped them down to size and just tacked them up. That way the trim that we're installing right now sits nice and flush and straight, and it's not beveled or kicking out, so to speak. We didn't want a hollow spot behind it, in other words. We needed something to fill that void. Because the panels are only 8 foot tall and this is a 9 foot tall wall, that's how we achieved covering up those gaps and making it look good without a splice down the center of the wall. Hopefully that makes sense. We're working on door trim today, and you can see that I have pre-assembled the trim. This is just the 5/4 by 4 LP SmartSide trim, and you can see that I've got some pocket holes up in here and some 1 3/4 screws work really well for this. So I've pre-assembled the casing, if you want to call it that, for this door. Now this is an exterior door because it leads into a conditioned space. One thing to keep in mind, this is a standard 4 9/16 door jamb. So because this LP SmartSide paneling is only 3/8 thick, the jambs are overhanging a little bit. These door jambs are made for 1/2 inch drywall on the inside. This is our inside, so they were hanging over a pretty good amount. So keep that in mind. You're gonna have to do something about that. I thought about rabbiting the back out of the trim, but because this door is in there a little bit wonky, I think that was just gonna be more work than it was worth. So here's what I did. I took my little Bosch 12-volt planer and I planed this entire jamb all the way around. I planed it down flush with the paneling. Then I came back and I used my little Flex cordless router and I put a little round over bit on it and I eased this edge. Now it's important to ease that edge for a couple different reasons. One, it's gonna hold paint a lot better, and two, it's just a little bit softer. That creates such a sharp edge when you plane it. You don't want to run into that sharp corner. So an eased edge is just better all the way around. I've determined that the right side of the door is my high side. So I have cut the legs accordingly on the trim, but I'm gonna go ahead and put down my little piece of cardboard just as a spacer, just to get the bottom of this trim up off the concrete. Just makes it better. I don't like that wood trim sitting on the concrete. I'm sure it would be fine, but we've done the entire baseboard that way, and I want to continue that. What I've done is I've just tacked one nail in this side and I evened up the reveal. I came over to this side, I measured and evened up the reveal, tacked this side. So now we're perfect and I made sure that my head casing is perfect. So now I'm just literally ready to fasten this thing up. This is the finished product. Obviously, the client still needs to get the garage doors installed, but that's coming. Ceiling is done, and the walls are done, and all of the trim has been finished as well. You can see how many receptacles the client's got on that wall. Well, that's because this portion of the garage is actually his shop. This is going to be where he's going to work on vehicles, change oil, things of that nature. So he's going to put a big workbench down this side of this wall. And that's why he's also got it conditioned. We've got a ductless mini split over here, and that's also why he's got so many lights in this room. Anytime you work in a shop environment, you definitely want a lot of lighting so that you can see what you're doing. The finish on these panels, Sherwin-Williams Scuff Tough eggshell sheen. We chose eggshell because the client wanted a slick or smooth drywall ceiling finish, and he didn't want to go through all of the work of performing a level 5, so we did kind of an in-between. We used a high build primer from Sherwin-Williams that we really like, put on 2 heavy coats of that, and then we sprayed that Scuff Tough on everything. So that saved us a little bit of time being able to spray the ceiling and the walls all in one day, back roll everything, and it's a super durable finish. So we went with the Sherwin-Williams Scuff Tough because it's supposed to have superior scratch resistance. And when you're in a garage, that's kind of the point. That's why we went with the LP SmartSide panels. We wanted a tough and durable finish, not only on the walls, but it worked out well for the ceiling as well. This gives you an idea of how the trim turned out after everything's caulked, puttied, all of that. Here is the client's bathroom. You can see we put in just a small on-demand electric water heater. That is going to serve this sink. So this will be a shop sink, like a tub sink. That's all he needs it for. There will be a toilet in here, media cabinet. You can see the vent fan. I think he's got that wired up too. There we go. There's some lights. Nice, quiet Panasonic vent fan. So kind of cool there. But I think the trim turned out really nice. Now, as we walk into this portion of the garage, where we did quite a bit of work as well, obviously, we've got 2 garage doors, and here are the doors. We're just waiting on the garage door contractor to get here to put those up, but this room is also finished. You can see a lot less lighting in here because this is just where the clients will park their vehicles. And that's going to do it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment down below, and if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me, helps the channel, and there's a lot more tutorial and how-to videos on the way, plus lots of tool review videos if you're into that. Really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.